you everyone for joining. Really excited to speak with you all today. Want to thank the National Alliance for having us here. Some of you we may work with, some of you may be familiar with Niche, but really looking forward to sharing a little bit more of the resources and knowledge we have with you today. I'll pull up my screen and start sharing a presentation we have, and then we can kind of kick things off. Should be around 40 minutes worth of content and then plenty of time for some Q&A at the end. A quick agenda, there is an overview of Niche for those of you who are not familiar with us, and then the bulk of the presentation today is really about Google Analytics and how to leverage analytics, different tools, different processes to really get the most out of your marketing efforts. As Brittany introduced, I'm the Digital Strategy Manager here at Niche. My name is Cooper Obenreiter, and I'm joined by my colleague, Megan.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's nice to be talking with you guys today. My name is Megan Root. I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Niche, and so a little bit more on the back end of managing the campaigns, digging into analytics, pulling those levers to make sure performance looks good. So yeah, I think we can get started.
Great, thanks for that, Megan. Before I kick off the official presentation, we do have a few poll questions that we wanted to present to the group. Brittany, not sure if we can throw those up now or if you need me to kick the screen back to you. Oh, perfect. So how frequently do you analyze your website analytics? Give it around 15 seconds for responses. Great, and then the results of that. Okay, so it's a pretty even split with around a quarter of people on the call not really using them or not really sure of how often it's checked. I think you've joined the right presentation today. We'll give you a lot of the foundation and basics for even kind of kickstarting that process. But then at the other end of the spectrum, it seems like we've got a fair amount of people who are pretty in-depth in analytics. Hopefully this is a refresher or some additional tips and tricks that you may not be as familiar with. So thank you for that. Next question, Brittany. How important is measuring your website to your marketing strategy? So kind of building off the last question. Okay, so extremely important. Not at all important. Would love to talk with that person later. Hopefully you feel a little bit differently after today's call, but yeah, that's super helpful context. Seems like most people are kind of leaning into analytics and realizing the role that it can play in your marketing strategy. That's great. And then the final question. What could you use the most help with? Okay, increasing schools' visibility. I think, especially in today's day and age, a lot of people aren't getting that same word of mouth exposure, aren't getting the same kind of in-person exposure, whether it be through events. Yeah, increasing your visibility is more and more something that Megan and I are supporting our partners with. So definitely something we can relay there as well. But thank you for all that. I think really the purpose of those questions was just kind of to gauge the room, see how everyone feels about analytics, and I think, yeah, today's presentation should have something for everybody. So to get right into it, the Niche overview. Some of you may be familiar with us, but Niche has really become where families choose their school. We are the largest education research site for K-12 schools in the country. And really, we are the place where families can do these three key actions. They can search for the schools and the education opportunities that are most relevant to them. We have a profile for every K through 12 school in America, and we have a lot of rich content on those profiles that allow families to compare those schools. So there's a lot of state-provided data, things from publicly available data sources, and then comparing that or combining that rather with user-generated content. Over 140 million reviews and ratings provided by, the exact kind of prospective family that you're trying to reach, someone who has an experience with the school, really giving that personal touch. And then once they've searched, once they've compared, our goal is really to help those families apply to the school that's going to be their best fit. Oftentimes we find that families using our website are building out a list of schools, oftentimes 3 or more, and that really is their short list for where they're going to send their child to school. So that's our goal. And again, we have all of this content and this platform to try and facilitate that. What that translates to is, again, we're the largest research site for PK through 12 schools in the country. 31 million unique families used our site last year to do exactly what I just described: search, compare, and potentially apply to schools. 3.7 million of those families researched specifically charter schools. I mentioned we have a profile for every school in the country on our site. Charters receive a large amount of that kind of visibility on our platform, that traction, and it's growing, as you know, as charters kind of grow in the choice for different families. And then something that may be less familiar to people who are aware of niche is we also have a large part of our site dedicated to viewing the best places to raise a family, the best places to live. We had 20 million families use our site for that kind of research last year. As a lot of you on the call know, that decision of where to send your child to school and where to live, that's peanut butter and jelly. It goes hand in hand. And we really try to provide that information to our users so they can make the most informed decision on all fronts. And all of this translates to a lot of schools, a lot of partners. Over 1,900 partners, and the list continues to grow every day. So, with that context on niche, that user base, and really why families are using our platform, there's the way that we partner with schools. And again, I said our objective is to help them, help these families apply to your schools and take that next step. Oftentimes that's taking place on your website. And that's why today's call is about measuring that website performance, measuring that traffic. And that really starts with analytics. Analytics is typically a term or the platform, powering the data collection behind your website. So starting at the basics, I am looking, and Megan, we're typically looking at Google Analytics. That is the most prevalent and free platform out there for measuring website activity. First step to tracking your digital performance is getting some type of analytics installed on your website. If you don't have analytics, you'll definitely want to check with your team and see about getting it installed on the website. Again, Google Analytics is the most common and it is free. So there's pretty simple ways to get it onto your site. If you're new, definitely lean on a web admin or someone at the school who manages the site to help get analytics installed. But if you're well-versed and analytics is already there, a little housekeeping to just make sure everything is functioning properly is going to go a long way. Megan and I, again, we deal with pretty much all of the clients here at Niche when it comes to analytics. And one of the biggest hangups we see is that someone in your seat who is trying to lean into analytics, really start tracking the website. Maybe you're inheriting an account or an analytics setup from someone who was in your seat prior. And it's going to take a little housekeeping just to make sure that you're getting the most out of that platform. Once you know that analytics is installed, it's installed properly, one of the next best things you can do is proactively use what's known as UTMs or urchin tracking monitors on any links for any marketing material that is sending traffic to the website. Google Analytics as a platform has pretty good foundational tools that bucket traffic and organize where it's coming from, whether it's Google or Niche or Facebook. But essentially UTMs allow you as the marketer, as the person in the driver's seat, to label that traffic ahead of time so that when you get into analytics on the back end, it's all neat and tidy already. So just a small kind of proactive tip once you've gotten the first step here out of the way. And then I see questions potentially appearing in the chat. Brittany or Megan, feel free to chime in if I'm missing anything. Otherwise, we will have a Q&A at the end as well. So,
oh, good. I've been answering some of the questions as we are going.
Perfect.
Rachel Powers just asked something that I can just answer live. It kind of goes along with UTM parameters. So she asked, can we get analytics on our traffic to specific school pages on the niche website. So on our monthly report for clients, we give a breakdown of like where users are clicking on your specific profile. So if they're clicking mostly on your like how to apply link or your visit campus link or your learn more link, so you would have that data there. But then in addition to that, you'll be able to see in your analytics our referral traffic. So our referral traffic in your analytics comes through as niche.com/referral as the source medium. And with that, you'll be able to see if all the traffic that we're sending to your website, what the performance looks like. So bounce rate, pages per session, if you have goals set up, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this presentation, you'll be able to see what our traffic is doing once they get to your site.
Yeah, it's a great question and great answer. Moving on, once you've got those foundations in place, I think really the last slide is about setting up the infrastructure to measure your website. The very next step to having any type of strong conversation is establishing the key performance indicators or the metrics that you think are going to be most relevant. I think any rule of establishing metrics is make sure that they're specific but easy to pull. Again, Google Analytics and most analytics platforms, they have some general metrics that they're always tracking, such as average time on site or pages per session, the pages or screens that a user looks at when they're on the site. Those are great places to start, but if there's other things that are important to you, like hits to a specific page, as Megan kind of alluded to, you can set up goal completions to track those specific activities. So destination goals, I think, are the lowest hanging fruit for anyone looking to add a layer of specificity to their analytics. Essentially, a destination goal is the way it sounds. You're setting up a goal around what specific pages you want to measure how many times they're hit. So /apply or /admissions, key pages that indicate a family's ready to take the next step. Tracking just how many times a user makes it to that page really lays the foundation for optimizing that process, right? You can't move a number unless you know where it's starting at. And I think the infrastructure of analytics makes it really easy to set these up. There's no additional coding or anything required. That being said, low-hanging fruit destination goals, something known as an event goal is kind of analytics 2.0. I have a link down here at the bottom to the Enrollment Insights blog. It's content that Megan and her team are often creating to round out kind of the conversation we're having today. The 201 series does talk about advanced goal conversions, events being an example of that, to kind of build off of the idea of somebody going to your apply page as a destination goal. The next level of specificity would be that event goal, where effectively, if there's a specific link there that they have to click to begin the application, you're going to want to click, or you're going to want to track that to kind of continue that funnel I alluded of. 1,000 people make it to the website, 100 people make it to the destination we care about, and then 10 take the actual end result action that we're focused on. So, those are some kind of broad ideas and high level examples of how goals are used with our partnerships and how you can incorporate them into your own marketing. But again, I think it all starts with installing analytics and then really thinking broadly about what you care about and then leveraging these kind of tools to put some specificity to it. That's really at a high level the keys to getting started and tracking your digital performance. The beauty of once you've got these parameters in place is then you can do what the rest of the presentation is talking about, really auditing your analytics. You have those metrics, you have the data collection kind of taking place, you know what your goals are, and now you can comb through the data to begin kind of making assumptions and then iterating on your strategy and your process. So some of the tools and processes that we most focus on are in this audit process. Really, again, start with having your analytics platform and then getting access to any kind of platform data that is feeding into the analytics platform. Something Megan referred to earlier was source medium. That is essentially what the traffic looks like on the back end once it hits your website. But if you have any platforms like Google or Facebook or a marketing agency that are kind of filling the top of the funnel or attempting to win traffic to send to the website, you're going to want that data as well. It contextualizes that kind of conversion story we were talking about earlier. If the goal is to get 10 clicks out to your application, knowing what kind of dollars and what kind of ads you're running to kind of fill up that funnel is obviously very, very helpful context. It then allows you in analytics to get very transparent with what aspects of that marketing are moving the needle. So if you link Google Ads to your analytics platform, Google makes it very easy for all of their technology to talk. It's then going to give you specificity down to, which specific words or campaigns that you're advertising around are generating the most ROI. And then also, because these platforms are both run by Google, Google allows them to kind of speak to one another, and they'll actually help optimize your campaigns along the way. It's kind of a nice halo effect of having all of that technology talking to one another. And then another tool that we think is helpful when entering into this audit process is benchmark data. One of the beauties of partnering with Niche or just, understanding who Niche is in the marketplace is that we have created some of this benchmark data. Again, I mentioned that Megan and I are most often the ones working with our clients to dig into their analytics. We actually were able to take a lot of the data we've gathered from over 320 of our partners and average that out. It's a pretty unique resource out there that really allows you, whether starting on this analytics journey or pretty deep into it, to compare to maybe what some of your peers are doing, or maybe some of your aspirational peers in terms of what type of traffic you want and how you want your website to be performing. It is slightly dated at this point, just to be very clear. It's from 2019, but the beauty is 2020 data should be coming very soon. And again, we all know 2020 was a bit of a unique year. Having that data should be pretty insightful for anybody looking to start this audit process. With the audit, again, you need to kind of set parameters for what you're looking at. Establish a goal or some goals and a time frame for why you're digging into the analytics. Really, what do you want to uncover? Of course, we've talked about goals already. We've talked about key metrics, but analytics is a rabbit hole. If you don't kind of set an objective from the outset, you'll look up, 6, 8, 10 hours later, and you'll be pretty deep into the data. But when looking at those goals and those key metrics, it's important to put yourself in the shoes of a prospective family. We talked about key pages on the site. What are those key pages that you want prospective families to look at? What are those key actions you want them to be taking? And then establish, key metrics and goals around that. I typically think that aiming for a full year or a full enrollment cycle when looking at your analytics is going to be your best bet. We all know that September is a very different time of year than, say, March for recruitment. So kind of factoring that in and not only looking at a small subset of data will ensure that you're really getting a holistic view of what's taking place on the website. So just some of those additional things to keep in mind as you embark on kind of this audit or analysis process. So you've got your goals and your time frame, you're in the analytics platform. Something that I like to point out to people is really just the main orientation of the platform and where I start or where Megan starts when we're kind of combing through traffic to identify maybe opportunities. Again, I mentioned earlier that analytics does a pretty good job of bucketing traffic for you already. The key ways that they're going to do that are these three kind of differentiators here. So channels are the broadest kind of buckets in which analytics places traffic. So direct to your site is somebody who types in your domain right into the search bar and comes, direct to the site. Organic search, that's, the SEO that we're all constantly chasing, right? Trying to show up at the top of organic search results. And then referral would be a click from a partner like Niche or maybe a referral from your Facebook page. Social, they do break that up as well into its own channel, and then email, pretty self-explanatory. Once you get below channels, then you're going to start looking at sources. And I really think this is where the kind of gold comes out. So a source is just a further delineation of maybe what we're looking at here with referral traffic. So it's the origin of that referral. Google, not exactly a referral partner, but Facebook could be a referral partner. Niche could be a referral partner. US News, other sites that may be linking back to your website. And when you start to compare sources that way, then you really can see who's moving the needle in terms of delivering high quantities and quality traffic. And then medium is one step below that. Niche as a paid partner for clients, we are both a referral source, but we also run display and Google search ads for our clients. That is going to come through differently on the back end, and then it allows you to compare, even different mediums of traffic within a source. The traffic you get from somebody clicking on your Facebook page versus somebody clicking on your Facebook ad is going to look very differently. So understanding the distinction in source medium between those two can be very important. And then lastly, I mentioned earlier that if you link Google Ads to analytics, they make it really easy for you to get all of that data right here in one place. Again, linking Google Ads not only allows you to see the performance of the traffic, but you can then compare that based on cost and how much you paid to actually buy those users. So that's kind of your acquisition report, and the first way that we really start to chop up the data in the back end is in kind of these ways, mainly looking at source medium and trying to make those comparisons I just described. In terms of comparisons, the default groupings that I just mentioned, like channels at the high level, they're great, but they're not perfect. I think they're a good barometer for, is social doing well? Is referral my best channel? Am I getting most of my families just direct to the site? But again, it's not perfect. So once you've kind of looked at that high level, going in and actually comparing based on source medium is really going to be your most accurate way to compare traffic. So going back to this page, you would start here in the acquisition report. There is the channel groupings, but then going down to source medium here is what allows you to kind of comb through with a fine tooth and really find different sources of traffic. I mentioned earlier that referral traffic is going to operate very differently than ads traffic. That is true kind of across the board. When somebody is referred to your site, they're actively clicking a link, maybe from a trusted partner or a resource that they are using, i.e. niche. And when they are taking that kind of unsolicited step in their research process, it can be some of your strongest traffic, because thinking about that family who is actively researching and then choosing to click a link and navigate to your site, it really indicates that they're looking to take that next step and they're serious. So don't sleep on referral traffic. I think that's kind of the key message here. And then after you're kind of in comparison mode, I've talked a lot about how Google Ads shows you the cost of acquiring traffic. If you don't have that element here, whether ads is not linked or you're just not the person spending the money on Facebook, maybe, so you're not as close to that, but kind of the prioritization of different advertising or different traffic sources, I think it's important to consider, those elements as well, time, effort, when looking at your marketing strategy. You can spend a lot of time managing your Facebook presence, writing Facebook content, not ever paying a dime to publish it. But if all of that effort doesn't result in more referrals from Facebook, then maybe it's time to reevaluate, where you're focusing your efforts. Things Niche looks at, again, I mentioned Megan and we do this on a regular basis for our partners. First and foremost, we're going to look at our own traffic. I talked about referral. I talked about ads traffic. We really want to show our partners holistically the impact Niche is having, but also break it out and show them the difference between what a referral looks like or an ad looks like, and how that kind of relays back to the level of their partnership with us. Once we've kind of looked at our own traffic, we're going to look at some of the more demographic or general information, where is your traffic physically coming from? Google obviously has some kind of user protection and anonymity to focus on with collecting data on users, but you can know where they are located based on their IP address. Google will bucket users into age ranges for you based on their kind of browsing data. So always, look at that, compare based on sex, male, female, or even like the device that they're using. All of that is available in analytics. And I don't know if it necessarily should be a key focus. You want to really focus on outcomes and not just the demographics. But again, it can be a little illuminating to see the typical age of a user to your website, or if you have pull from maybe out of your immediate area or something like that in terms of location. And then kind of what we talked about up until now is those comparisons of different channels. Broadly speaking, we're looking at paid search, paid display, and then referral partners. Again, we operate in all three of these kind of dynamics for our partners. So we want to look at, again, how our traffic is performing in each of these channels, but then broadly speaking, if a partner is running a ton of display ads outside of niche, we want to be able to compare apples to apples, maybe our traffic versus their traffic and so on. And then, of course, when the cost information is available, we want to incorporate that as well, because our partners pay us for our services, so we can't just focus on the quality of traffic they're getting, but also the relative cost per acquisition, whether it's a cost per click or a cost per user to the site, things like that. And then we do take that a step further. If there is paid advertising taking place for a client, again, we do this for all of our partners, but we want to be able to provide some extra insight to them. How is their search advertising doing? For those of you familiar, search ads or Google search AdWords really kind of falls into two buckets: branded and non-branded. Essentially, buying your name and not buying your name, buying things like best charter schools in St. Louis. There's a real difference in how that traffic's going to perform. And sometimes you'd be surprised at how much money is going to one versus the other, or the outcomes, that you're getting from buying your own name or buying some of those more non-branded general terms. And then finally, if there's a lot of display ads taking place, the difference in a display ad from Facebook or a display ad that's run on Google or a display ad that was run through niche, we do try to show that exact comparison as well. Again, kind of all of these comparisons that we make and the comparisons that I would encourage you all to make is starting at a high level with, again, those channels, and then once something catches your eye, going deeper. If you see that there is a lot of paid display as a channel, then you're going to want to go down into the source medium of the different display advertising and start to make some more specific comparisons. That's kind of the general framework through which we operate. And then, things may catch your eye or spark your interest when you're in the data, but always a good kind of approach is this top-down approach when chopping up the different sources and channels. And that's really it. I think our focus today was giving you all the kind of broad strokes and tools to really do this on your own. It's something that we encourage of all of our partners, and it's something we really do try to educate our partners and the greater community on. So linked here at the end to the Enrollment Insights blog. This is a resource, again, that Megan and her team of digital marketing specialists are constantly spinning up content based on what's changing with Google or what's changing with the education landscape, and trying to provide you bite-sized information. So would highly encourage anyone to check that out. And then I also have mentioned, again, we run these analyses for our partners and for prospective partners. If today's presentation kind of left you feeling a little overwhelmed, just know that you can always reach out directly to Niche, and we're happy to kind of lean into this and help you out with this analysis as well. So with that, I hope everyone got a little something out of the presentation, but we can kind of open it up to more general questions or anything like that. Seems like Megan was too good at answering the questions throughout the presentation.
I did answer a few during your presentation, but
yeah, that's great. Anyone at all, this can be niche specific, this can be analytics specific. Again, we really tried to approach today at a high level, but if there's anything anybody has, again, niche specific or a little bit more focused on their own analytics, happy to kind of weigh in for you.
To fix data on your profile, you can claim your school. And then with that, you'll get login credentials and be able to update the data that's shown on your profile. I can send the link to claim your school in the chat, and then similarly, the link to partner with Niche. We have a form you can fill out there to see our enrollment solutions, options, and the different packages that we offer for our partners. Online brand reputation services. So I'm not totally sure what you mean by that. Cooper, do you have any insight on that? If you just mean like brand awareness, like getting your school name out there, getting your school name in front of more families, we can absolutely do that. With our digital, we will show your ad to this great audience that is actively searching on Niche for your school specifically, and then also just your competitor schools and relevant searches. So like best charter schools in whatever area you may be in. And so with that, we can really increase your brand awareness.
More SEO and crawls, Nikita. There's a halo effect to having a niche profile in terms of your SEO. It is not something that as a service we can help optimize your actual website, but there is this effect of having a profile with niche because we are so SEO friendly. We are constantly the #1 or #2 result for key searches that you may be focused on. Just having a premium profile and linking back to your site from niche does improve your SEO. But it's not necessarily a service we specifically pay for or provide, rather. Heather, yes, that benchmark data is available. It's on the Enrollment Insights blog, which I have linked here. But again, that's 2019's. 2020 should be out sometime in the next few weeks. But yes, it is available directly on the website at the Enrollment Insights blog.
Also, the recording will be sent out via email after this. Cooper, after claiming the profile, if there are issues with reviews, I, to be honest, don't know that process. It's more on the account management side.
Yeah, so I was previously an account manager with Niche prior to moving into this analytics role, which is why Megan punted to me. There's a few ways you can go about that. First, just know that all reviews are both algorithmically and manually screened by our team to make sure they adhere to our user content guidelines. If that does not catch it and it's not a foolproof service, you on your profile can actually I believe I'm blanking on the word, but on every individual review on your profile, you can flag it for review. And that actually then reinitiates it going to our customer success team in order to again, verify it against those user content guidelines. So just feel free to click that, whatever the button is on the profile. Apologies for blanking on that right now.
If you have 15 schools to update, we can work with you to update those once you're a partner. So you won't have to manually go do every single one.
Yeah, your account manager will be very integral in helping to make that happen. And ideally, the platform continues to make those processes easier for individuals like yourself, Lisa. But in the meantime, yeah, every dedicated account manager is more than happy to help with that. And the claim your profile link, do we have that handy here?
Yeah, I got it.
Great. If the user review meets guidelines but contains incorrect information, what's the process to resolve? That would be more of a one-to-one conversation with customer success. The guidelines are typically flagging for things like profanity or calling out individuals by name. But because we don't have that exact boots on the ground understanding of the school. We can't necessarily flag for incorrect info, but it's something that we're definitely committed to getting off of there if it's just blatantly wrong. So I would say you can always reach out to a niche representative if you're a client, or our customer success team can do that if you're not a partner of ours. And Nikita, you're welcome. Yeah, if that location is no longer existing or needs updated, we get a lot of our kind of administrative info like that from public data sets, and we know that some of those are 12 months, 18 months out of date. We can definitely get that updated for you, and that content would go live on the site immediately. So as quickly as claiming it and changing it, you'd be ready to go. The anonymous question, I'll address that one, Megan. The 2 profiles on niche if you have multiple campuses. Again, a specific question for our customer success team. My understanding is our site kind of works one-to-one with how you file with iPads. So if both of those campuses have filed independently with iPads, they can both have their own profile. But if it's one school, one iPads number, and just 2 different buildings, that's a little bit trickier. It would likely just remain one profile. But then our profiles have a lot of ways for you to surface that information to a user to let them know that there's multiple campuses and things. Hopefully that's helpful in the short term.
Then on the digital side for competing schools in similar markets, we've really leaned into our audience. So each school's audience will be slightly different. So there will be some overlap as always, but the majority will be specific to your school because the audience that we create for the ads that we're going to run is specific to your school. I don't know if Cooper, you have anything else to add there?
Yeah, I think that's it. The mitigate competing schools in the same market. I think Google doesn't want any of us to know the answer there on how to win the SEO game like that. But like Megan said, with everything Niche does on behalf of our partners, it really is kind of one-to-one marketing of making sure we're putting your ads or your profile in front of that audience of users that's most relevant to your school, based on the data we've collected about their activity on the platform, things like that. So hopefully that helps a little bit there.
And then as for finding keywords within Google Ads, there's a tool called Keyword Planner. And so you can use that to see cost of keywords, how often people are bidding on them, things like that. And then another thing to keep in mind with your keywords is they should be really relevant to your ad copy and the goal of your campaign. So you want to use kind of similar wording to what you're using in your search ads, and you want to bid on the same thing so that when someone searches for best charter schools or something, the ad that comes up that highlights your school specifically is relevant to what they searched for. And with that, typically you'll see better performance.
Mm-hmm. Great questions. Who do you contact to help with all 15 schools? Profile to be updated. I believe, Lisa, that following this call, our head of K-12 sales, you all should be receiving an email. We'll have his information in it. So he leads the team that partners with all of our K-12 clients. He can definitely steer you in the right direction.
As for spend on Google Ads or Facebook, it really depends on your location and your type of school. So the spend that we see varies. So we'll see schools that are located in New York spending a ton of money per month, sometimes $5,000 plus per month. And then we'll see other schools that are spending, like $5,000 per year. So it really depends on your location and your goals. So with brand awareness campaigns, they tend to be a little bit cheaper because you really just want to get your name out there. You're not trying to get people to move further down your funnel. So apply or visit or fill out an R5 form or something like that. With those types of campaigns, they tend to be a little bit more expensive because you're trying to target a smaller group of students.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important to keep what the objective is in mind when setting that budget, because even the difference between $1 on Google Ads and $1 on Facebook can be very different.
And then another thing you want to keep in mind is just performance. So, if you are spending a lot on Google Ads, but you see that your bounce rate is really high and your session duration is really low, you'll want to, transition that budget maybe to a different ad platform, or kind of change up your strategy with how you're running your campaigns on Google Ads. Also, the recording will be available. It'll be sent out after the presentation today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nikita. Thank you, Lisa. Nomi, thank you. Unless there's any other questions, we'll give you all 15 minutes back. Appreciate the follow-up after this. I'm glad there were some questions. And again, if you need anything directly from Niche, you will be getting Jeff Bucklew's email. He, again, is the leader of the K-12 sales team here. So you'll be getting his contact information. And then I also know that Brittany and team will be sending over some additional kind of questions and collateral. But really appreciate everyone's time today and hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
One more question, Coop. Can you send all location data in the follow-up email as well? So you'll get the link out in here specifically to the 2019 benchmark data and to the various number of users in segments. There won't be any specific location data. If you wanted more specific location data based on your area, your key market, things like that, you would, I think the best way would just be to reach out to Jeff to get that more specific data, and his contact information will be in the follow-up email as well.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to stay in touch with us. We will share the recording, and we have several recordings and resources available on our website, www.publiccharters.org/webinars. Thank you and have a wonderful day.